Up next on the podcast is Nick Romero. If you don't know Nick, you should definitely listen to his podcast and check it out. Nick has worked in some of the best restaurants around the country, including L2O with Laurent Gras, Smyth, Manresa, where he was previously the Chef de Cuisine for the last 5 years till the closing. Nick has an interesting story, and I'm really excited about this podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Nick Romero, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah, life treating you well?
It's pretty good.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I don't think I had an option, so...
No, there was no option.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll take the handcuff off your ankle and the ankle brace off when we're done.
Yeah.
So the idea of the podcast is to kind of tell your story, how you started cooking. You have a culinary resume that's dipped in gold. You've worked at some amazing places, and you've had an extremely successful career, especially working in like 3-star Michelin restaurants.
Yeah.
So how did you get from small town Louisiana to the Chef de Cuisine of Manresa?
Man, it was a long time ago, I guess. I guess growing up, like with a family, both my parents, like cooking, always cooking. Family, both sides of the family, being from Southern Louisiana, and it's like you kind of have to know how to cook. Like, there's no option, and so just growing up with it, and then just fucking around as a kid, just like taking every like dry spice in the condiment and putting it on whatever piece of meat and like just overcooking the shit out of it. Just, hey, I'm cooking, you know. To like, just kind of went to college in Louisiana, and I kind of hated it, and it was just like culinary school was always a thought, cooking was always a thought, and then once I got into it, it was, if I'm gonna do it, I want to at least try to be the best at it, or work for the best people, work for the best chefs, work in the best kitchens, and put your head down and go for it, and
right,
I don't know, 20 years later, you're in California, and it's pretty wild. Never a million years would have thought that I'd be doing that, or like and working for all the chefs that I worked for in the past, and I don't know, you go to work, and I think the work proves itself, and then you get promoted, and
yeah,
What
were some of the things that you grew up eating, or like that your family made? I mean, Louisiana has such a rich history of food.
Like Scott, Louisiana. There's like the staples, obviously gumbo and all that. Both of my parents were great cooks, and they each had their own specialty. My mom had her like 6 or 7 things, even though she was kind of picky. And I think maybe we were as kids, but I think that was because we grew up around that. My dad had his things he would cook, and gumbos to like eating rice with 4 times a week with whatever meal, rice and gravy, XYZ.
Yeah.
And just mom's fried pork chops, dad's like crab stew, seafood stew, round steak and rice and gravy, and all kind of simple things, but like delicious, and things that now I don't get to experience as much as not being able to go like back home as much. Or,
right. Yeah.
It's like, I was like, hey, mom, I'm making rice and gravy. Like, how do you do it again? Not like. I mean, I know how to make it. But it's like.
Yeah, but it's not like.
It's like the nuances.
It's not how mom makes it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of.
So where was your first cooking job? Like.
A couple pizza places. In Louisiana, Lafayette, and I think one of them I was there for like a year. I was in high school, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I feel like I was the only one working. All my friends are out and like, doing high school shit, whatever, partying, whatever. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Can't live like this.
Yeah, I can't live like this.
And I quit, and then I was just like I'm never working in a pizza restaurant, much less a restaurant again. And I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, my buddies was like, "Hey, my dad's in with a pizza restaurant, and I know you've done it before. Do you want to come and work?"
I was the chef.
Not the chef, but he was like, "You want to come and work?" And I was like, "All right," you know. I did that, and I worked some like jobs here and there. I had some, you know, busboy jobs and dishwashing jobs, and you know, like in restaurants that I wanted to cook at, and they were like, "Oh, you sure you want to work in front of the house?" It's like, "No, I want to cook." And I'm like, "Oh, we don't have a cook job. We have this dishwashing job if you want, you know, for 2 weeks to get you in the door, and 6 months later you're still washing dishes."
Yeah,
and
right.
you're like, "All right, you know, what's going on?" And you know, move on. And yeah, and then, you know, eventually went to culinary school in Houston, and that was kind of that.
Do you think you benefited from going to culinary school?
I think so. In certain ways, I don't think it was for everybody that went. I think having restaurant experience and also working while I was in school, and just kind of being that young, just kind of knowing how to cook already, like, and certain skill sets that they were teaching to the students for the first time, like I know how to do, so it was a little bit easier. But you know, it seemed like a lot of people that went to the school were, I don't know, 70% not working in restaurants. You know, and I understand that maybe they couldn't, or maybe their schedule with their job, they couldn't take the morning class or the nighttime class, and they had to do that. I understand that, but you know, it's like, it just seemed like there were very few people cooking and going to school at the same time. But
And then after you graduated, what was the first?
Well, I was still.
Oh, you're still working while you were going to school?
I was fortunate enough to get a job at Bank. It was a John George restaurant.
Yeah.
While I was in school, and that was like, I think that was like the start of like, okay, like high end fine dining is what I want to do, and that was a great team, and I still know a lot of those guys, and I'm in good contact with them, and but that was like kind of the start, right? I think. And
what was your position when you got there? What did they hire you as?
I think I started in Garde Manger.
Yeah.
And I was just like young and still in school and in this like professional setup kitchen, and just like, you know, intimidated, and
sure,
you know, now you're on that stage, I guess, you know. But after the first like couple months, I was like, all right, I think I can manage, you know, like. And then I went Garde Manger, then meat to fish.
And it was fine dining? It was like what, a casual hotel kind of?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a small like boutique hotel. Like, I don't know, there was like 100-something rooms. You know, but the kitchen put out room service. Lunch and dinner was John George, and then, you know, they did breakfast for the hotel, room service. We did banquets all out of the same kitchen for the first like couple years. Like,
fuck, man, are you serious?
Yeah, we'd be doing like 170 a night, like for dinner, and then there was like a separate team doing a banquet upstairs for like 300, all out of the same kitchen.
Man,
like I don't know how we did it. We did it. But
for me, it's like always the room service. While regular service is going on, it's like you're slow poaching milk.
Oh yeah,
you're slow poaching turbo and milk, and firing a double cheeseburger at the same time, making sure that the fries are ready. It's such a juxtaposition of
it's wild.
What you're trying to do, wild. You know.
But you know, it was all a good learning experience, and definitely worked some overnight room service positions, because the guy would call in, and when I started, I was like, you know, the chef was like, "We need someone to work room or overnight," and I was like. It was kind of like you have to do it, because when you first started, you said you do what it takes to work here.
Literally.
Dude, and I was like, all right. She's like, all right. I just worked a lunch and a dinner shift. Now
I'll stay an extra 8 hours until 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna make 3 grilled cheeses tonight. But I'm gonna try to stay awake.
And then work lunch again the next day.
Yeah, right. Those graveyard shifts are so hard to fill, and it's always like the same person.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's hard to find that spot. You know, you go into a place where it's like, some days you just stand there for 8 hours doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Like, who wants that job?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I worked at a hotel, and the only reason they did the overnight service was so that they can maintain like a 5-diamond review on with TripAdvisor or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the criteria for getting.
Right. You have to have like overnight. You have to have like 24-hour room service.
24-hour room service. Yeah. And if you really think about it, like 24-hour room service, it's like, dude, it's 2 a.m. You don't have any food. Every restaurant's closed outside. Like, just go to bed and wake up and have breakfast in the morning, you know?
Some people want to eat though, man.
I get it, but I also get like, fuck off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. You know?
Yeah. Where'd you go after the John George?
That's when I moved to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I had some friends that I worked with, and they moved to Chicago.
What year was this?
I moved to Chicago in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they moved a year before I did. And like, oh, dude, you got to get to Chicago. And so I basically got a stage at True, like packed my car, drove from Houston to Chicago, slept on my buddy's floor basically for a month with this crazy fucking cat. It's like 2 days into being there, like I had my shit in like the closet, like in the living room, and doors open, the cat like shit all over my fucking clothes. I was just like, what the fuck? Cat and I, we had a good relationship because we eventually living together, and I would just like, he would just terrorize me, man, for no reason. I was like, what's your problem, dude?
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should have the cat on the next podcast. His side of the story. So I'm sorry. Go on about the cat.
Yeah. We can edit that out, dude.
We don't edit shit, man. We haven't done shit.
Yeah. Chicago 2007 was true.
It's a good time in Chicago. Like
great
2005 to 2010 was a really pivotal moment.
I think
for Chicago. I think.
Yeah, I think when I got there and I didn't think I'd stay for 11 years, but
yeah. What did you think you were gonna do?
I don't know.
Yeah,
like stay there for 2-3 years, go somewhere else, New York, or I don't know. I just kind of like, all right, work here for a little bit and check something out. But I don't know, I just kept getting better. And
who was the chef at True at the time?
Shimano was still involved, but Tim Graham was the CDC, and then that's when Laurent was doing, I think he was doing consulting when I first started, but he was like back and forth, like Chicago to New York, here and there. Then he was there more full-time, doing like R&D for L2O and all that. So he would still do like some stuff for the menu with Tim Graham, and then him and Francis would be doing dishes for L2O
Focus
and
on
stuff.
L2O. Yeah, nice.
It was a wild time, man. It was a great time. I think, all the kitchens I worked at in Chicago were all great. But I think for me, the funnest times of work was, I think, being the morning saucier at True.
Mm-hmm.
That was like roll in at 7, and everything had to be made for the day, and you didn't know what was going to be made until you got there in the morning. Like, here's the prep list of 15, 17 different sauces, and we need this many delis or whatever of each. And it's like, all right, and you're like pushing the whole day. Like, having, you've been in the kitchen at True, right? It's kind of the big island. I know they changed it a little bit. They took down some stuff at some point.
Is it? It's not open anymore.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. But yeah, just like having like 15 sauces going at one time on the island, on the hot app station, and just running around. That was fun. You know, it's hard to teach that.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Especially on a fine dining level.
Yeah.
You know.
We did a lot of sauce work at, here and there, other places. I think I did a lot of sauce work at Manresa, in different ways, you know, like obviously growing as like a cook, a chef, and tweaking things, but still having a lot of sauces going at once. But I think like that was probably the funnest time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just making sauces all day.
And then you went to El2O after there?
No, I went to Avenues.
Oh, you went to Avenues?
No, I'm sorry.
No, right.
I went to El2O.
El2O, right.
Then I went to Avenues. Sorry. It's like so long ago.
Yeah.
I just went to El2O. I was on the opening team. Saucier and with Nathan. He was a sous chef. I think Sean Gall. Amanda was there.
Brad,
yeah, Brad was on the opening
yeah.
team. Brad's a great guy. That opening team was like great. Kirkley.
Yeah, it was solid.
Kirkley, dude. Working with Kirkley, I was like on the line, you know? Like, he was a good dude. The whole team was like Jason's out in Houston. He was a fish butcher.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Vaughn. Sam, who's up in Boulder right now. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
A lot of people.
What was it like working for Lauren?
Oh, I don't know. He's something else.
Yeah.
He's great. He's like, I don't know. He'll just outcook anyone.
He's on another level.
Yeah.
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 Like, I'd like to try to understand what goes on in that guy's brain, you know?
I don't know, but he was great to work for. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And, yeah, he's like, so I don't know, a robot. I don't know.
What's he doing now? Is he back in New York?
Consulting? I don't know. I don't like talk to him that much.
Yeah.
I saw him at Cezanne when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
I had dinner there, which was great. Before he left, but yeah, you know. But he was like, I mean, he would always kind of like work here for a little bit and not work, and then work,
Right.
and then not work, and then,
Right.
you know.
How long were you at El2O then? I mean, he wasn't there long. Was that place open a year? How long was Lauren Gras there? It was like
he was there for
almost
a couple
2 years.
He was there for a couple years.
Yeah.
I was there for like a year and a half, I think.
I remember they got 3-star Michelin, and he bounced and then got 3-star Michelin, or
I mean, I don't know like the truth.
yeah.
thing,
I mean,
but like,
all I know is what I read in the paper. So
they got 3 stars, but I think he like quit before that came out.
yeah,
I don't know, but I think he knew that he was getting them and just was like, yeah. I mean, he was doing it when he was like in his mid-20s in France for Ducasse and stuff.
right.
So it's like,
I mean, that's a long time to
Yeah.
be grinding away, getting 3-star Michelin.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I had a meal at the 5th floor in San Francisco when I
Yeah.
was there. It was fucking mind bending, man.
yeah. A lot of people say that. A lot of people were like, when he was at 5th floor, he was like,
It was ridiculous,
Yeah.
man. There was this stuffed avocado with crab. I still remember it, and the avocado was like perfectly triangled, shingled all the way around. So they must have done it in like a dome mold, and then like
yeah, but we'd only use the top of the avocado.
oh really? I can only imagine how much guacamole they were eating for staff meal. Every night.
We had avocados for days for
Yeah,
staff.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was these little triangles kind of like pinwheeled all the way around in a spiral.
Yeah.
So it was like the whole dome. It was it wasn't like a little mini, it was a
Yeah.
big portion.
Yeah.
And it was like stuffed with crab salad.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was surrounded by this like intense chicken jalapeno jelly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget, there were some other things on there too. And it's like, when it got set on the table, it's like this avocado dome and like this gelée. And you're just like, this is going to be fucking delicious.
Yeah.
I just knew it was.
Yeah.
You take that first bite and you cut avocado and it's just stuffed with, there must have been a pound of crab meat in there. Easily.
Probably piquito.
Piquito.
Yeah.
Easily. Or might have been Dungeness. I don't know. I don't
Oh,
remember.
okay,
It might
that
have
would
been
make sense.
Dungeness,
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then there was this, I still remember this meal. That was 2001, 2002. There was this seared duck breast with like cocoa. And then it had like all these little miniature, perfectly cut, diced and like brunoise and like, Parisian scooped garnishes like all the way around.
Okay.
And everything was different. Everything was perfect. And it was just like a work of art, man. The guy's like,
It's pretty good.
he can crush 3-star Michelin French cuisine, man. He just knows it.
Yeah, and he's fast and clean, and
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
Yeah. And then you slid over to Avenues when Curtis was there, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that, and then was there the whole time till we closed, and then...
Well, that had been open a while already, though, no? Or he had been there?
Avenues itself had been there. I think Graham Elliott was there before.
Yeah.
I think after I started at Avenues, he might have been there for like a year or so, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the guy Rob, the fish guy I was talking about, he was cooking at True, and he went to Avenues, while a few of us went to L2O, and then he was leaving. He was like, "Hey, I'm leaving Avenues." I was like,
Right.
you know, because I mean, there's only like 4 kitchen spots. So it was like a lot of people wanted that kitchen spot. But yeah, that was a good time.
Did you stay there till the end, till he left?
Yeah, till we closed, and then open Grace.
And then what did you do in the interim between Avenues and Grace?
It didn't work for a little bit, and then I kind of just did some things here and there with Hog Salt, just kind of.
Oh, right on, yeah, at Guild Bar, yeah.
Well, I was doing Guild Bar as a prep cook.
Just to make money?
No, just because like they were just opening, and like Sam and Jason were there, and I ran into Jason.
Jason who?
Jason Vaughn.
Okay.
And I ran to my map room, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like we need like a prep cook and like something else." And I was like, well, and this is while I was cooking at Avenues, and I was like, "What are the hours?" And he's like, "I don't know, 7 to wherever." I was like, "I'll do it." You know, it was like I think it was like the winter time, right? So there's nothing to do in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know,
You need the money.
more or less,
Yeah.
you know, but also like I liked working, and then it was also like opening restaurants. And so, yeah, it was like go to work at 7, open, do prep until 12, 1, walk to work to the Peninsula, and then do night, then go to Avenues and then do that. I did that for like 3-4 months, you know, until they like found a guy, girl, whoever. But yeah, that was, and then did mods for a little bit with Picas. That was probably the hottest kitchen I've ever worked in.
No way.
So hot, dude. Summertime. It was just summertime.
Do you have a wood burning grill in there? Or no? Did they?
They had some kind of
pizza oven, right?
No, they had a grill. No, it was like a wood fired grill, I think.
Yeah.
It was hot. It was like, I worked like saute fry station up against the black tile wall. And I was like, dude, you get into work at 12 and you're just like sweating.
Yeah.
I was like so hot. I was like, yeah.
That's not there anymore, huh?
I don't know.
Man, I can't keep up with Chicago. Maud's Liquor Bar is gone.
I don't know.
Guild Bar might still be there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be.
A great restaurant, man. It was.
Yeah. All the restaurants were good.
Yeah. I think Buffet's is probably my favorite steakhouse in Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
Buff House is good.
Buff House is good.
Yeah. With like chef-driven restaurant. Well, Buffet's not really chefy, kind of.
I mean, they do
it's different from Ruth Chris, Gibson's.
Yeah, they do a good steak.
You know,
They do a good steak.
Yeah.
Which I think is hard to do.
What did you learn at L2O that I'm kind of like not obsessed with Laurent Gras, but it's like I always wanted to work for him. Like when I was at La Francais in Chicago, all everybody talked about was L'Espinasse and what Laurent Gras was doing at L'Espinasse, and how it was so fucking cool. Is it possible to get there? And it was a union hotel, so everybody was making like $25 an hour, and it was impossible to get a job there. And then he left. He left and was out of work for a little bit, and that's when he went to California, the 5th floor. What do you think you learned from him that you still kind of like use today, or like some sort of trick or organizational skill?
I mean, probably a lot of things. I think being organized. I don't know. It's very precise. Like every like move you make like was for a reason. You know, like no wasted energy or time. Like
He obviously doesn't have adult ADD.
You put it here. You don't put it here every time.
Right.
So it's always here. And this like muscle memory of whether it's working a station or just like cooking and, obviously like things being perfect, how perfect can perfect be, but just, okay, like here's a recipe, make this. Are you going to follow the recipe verbatim every time? You know what I mean? Are you going to weigh out 300 grams of garlic cloves every time you weigh it? Or you know what that looks like, right? You know what 600 grams of shallots looks like in 2 delis, right? So like, but it's still precise, but I don't know, just being fast, precise, clean, organized, just not making mistakes.
Right.
That's, I don't know. It seemed like what he always did.
I think my biggest takeaway is when I started working in fine dining restaurants, how every recipe was to the gram.
Yeah.
I mean, I just was never really exposed to that until I got to
like by grams, as opposed to like...
No, just like just a recipe of like how precise the fucking recipe is. We're going to make this each time. Even for like the sauce making, there's still a recipe, kind of like a guideline, but like here, this is how many grams of red wine vinegar, or this is how many grams of XYZ. And then you make it and you could tweak it as you go or this or that. But the precision of 3-star Michelin to me, when I first started, my first couple experiences was like, holy fuck, like it's not just like, well, here, just make a bechamel sauce. Just go ahead and make it.
Right.
It's like, here's the recipe for the bechamel sauce. And you're like, oh, okay. And it's completely, I think what I'm trying to say is like the consistency of what it takes to work on that level is like through the roof,
Also, knowing how to cook just naturally helps.
Well, that also, yes, obviously, that also,
Yeah.
Well said.
Wow. Good talk.
Good talk. So, how was the opening of Grace? It was a huge opening for Chicago.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, man. It was like, I think going from, I guess, being the sous chef, leaving an Avenues, I mean, whatever that was, but like being the Chef de Cuisine at Grace and having like almost double plus the team of being in charge of, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Yeah. How long did it take before it was like all the systems were in place, everything was ready? Okay, now we're actually like functional.
I don't know, 4 or 5 months, maybe, like for, the kind of that mid-service moment where everything clicks and you see it and then everyone's kind of on the same page. Everyone gets it. The food's coming out in a timely fashion. No one's doing stupid things and you're like, okay. And then the next day it gets better and then it gets better.
Right.
And there's less like, why is this taking so long, but when's everybody gonna click? I think like 4 or 5 months maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a lot of work. And
Dude, restaurant openings are tough. You've opened a lot of restaurants.
yeah.
They're tough, man.
Yeah, they're fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, though. I think if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, it could be soul crushing.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, even if you're having fun, it's still soul crushing at times too.
It's hard. I mean, because you think you have an idea, you can have your perfect vision of where everything's going to go and it's in its place, and then you got to worry about water dripping out of the AC vent, while you're just trying to work. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, I can't deal with this. I need to be on my cutting board, like doing stuff for service tonight. And
now you're an HVAC guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, insane.
You know what I mean?
For me, it's kind of like what we're going through at Iggy's, which we'll get to. It's kind of like, okay, I had the idea of the organization. Okay, there's going to be, this rack's going to be here. We're going to put dry storage here. and then it doesn't work, and then you need to make a change. But it's not just like, oh, we're just going to move this. Like, I need to order new equipment. We need to we need to measure it precisely. I need to think about, okay, if I move it here, is it really going to work? And it takes like, and now we're waiting on things being delivered. We're waiting on like construction guys drilling into the tile. And it's like, that takes a week to get them on board. Then it takes another week to order the shelving units. Then it takes another couple days for me to really think, do I want to commit to having this here or not? And usually the answer is, no, I'm not ready to commit yet. So let's hold off another couple days. And next thing you know, it's been like a month and a half and the fucking bag of flour is still sitting on the floor because we don't have anywhere to put it, man. Yeah. That's the most trying thing to me, is waiting on other people, you know?
They're all unique, I think. I mean, especially more so before you get open, it's like you have a plumbing issue or you have another issue or you have another issue, and it's like, well, I need this tile put up, but the tile guy can't do it until the plumbing guy does something. Right. And the plumbing guy can't do it until the permit's ready. The permit's ready. Right. And like, well, the electrical guy's got to come in, and then the other guy's got next week off. Yeah. And it's a holiday.
And it's a holiday
somewhere.
Yeah. Next thing you know, 3 months has gone by, and all those problems you list are still sitting there.
And you're just trying to get a tile put into the wall.
Right. You know? Yeah. We waited.
I get it. You know,
we waited a month for an electrical inspection, just because there's not a lot of electrical inspectors in town.
I'm sure there can't be that many electrical inspectors.
Dead in the fucking water, man. They couldn't put the walls up until it was inspected. And then when we got the inspection, the guy was there for like 10 minutes. Like, oh, yeah, looks good. Yep. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. The bureaucracy of a city. And some are better. Nashville's pretty good compared to Chicago. Yeah. But it's still slow. Yeah. Yeah. After Avenues, what happened?
Avenues was in Grace. And then...
Oh, Avenues. After Grace. Yeah, sorry.
After Grace was, we got our third star, and just kind of like, you know, I think it was like time to move on, and so, you know, put my notice in, you know, enough time, and I didn't really have a plan. I just kind of wanted to take some time off and just like take a break, you know, because I haven't gone out for a while and working, and I was like, all right, I just need a couple months off, and I didn't have any plans. And a couple months later, I was talking to Brad, and Brad was opening Alter, and I was like, hey, what are you? He's like, oh, I'm doing. Finally got my space. I'm opening. I was like, you need a hand. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I'm not working. I was like, you know, come down for a few months, whatever you need. He was like, serious? I was like, yeah. He was like, all right, I'll call you back in a little bit, and call me back. And he's like, all right, can you fly this date? Or so, like sometime in May, I think it was May 2015. And I got picked up from the airport. We went to the restaurant, and he's like, you ready to work? I was like right now, like right now. And I was like, sure. I mean, that's what I came here to do. But I thought like a day of like, you know,
you know, chill out, right? Yeah, just get off a plane, man. You know, it's like being in an interview and they're like, "Yeah, you got the job. Here's your apron. You can start now." Yeah.
But no, that was great. Miami was fun, and I got to meet a lot of good people that I'm still really good friends with, and Seth and
Seth's a legend.
Seth's great. Demo, fucking great guy. Just a bunch of people, and I like going down there to visit. It's fun. But yeah, I was there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, and then came back to Chicago and didn't really have a plan. And I just kind of met Shields, and that was like while we were doing Jam at Night.
Jam at Night. Oh, that's right. He was opening. He
was like looking for a Chef de Cuisine, and there was like a couple guys that worked with me, and they were like, "Hey, I'm applying for the CDC job," and I was like, you know, awesome. Like, I didn't even like really think about it, and a couple people asked me, you know, I was like, I have no plan, like, I don't know. And like, she'll send me a text, like, and I think I responded when I was at the coffee shop by Jam.
But yeah, the one next time.
Yeah, he was meeting you.
I remember. Yeah,
he was meeting you for coffee.
We talked about it. Yeah, that's right. I was like, I think you should definitely do that. And I remember we talked about it.
Responding to his text, And he was walking in, and I was like, "Chef, hey, we're applying now."
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was like, I think he was meeting me for coffee.
He was meeting me for coffee.
Yeah,
That's
we talked for
right.
a little bit, and then I think we had the same like mindset as far as like opening and food vision.
Did I forget what I met him for coffee for? I think it was just to catch up.
I think we were just meeting him.
I think we were just to catch up, and then we talked about you for like 20 minutes. Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, it's good. You should hire him." I remember, he took over. He just had signed a lease on the space, or it was like halfway built. Because I just got back.
From Bali?
From like traveling. I was like gone for a while. And I flew back to Chicago. That's right. Yeah.
And then we did Jam at night.
We did the Jam at night. The Jam pop-up at night, which was kind of like the original inception of the Cappered menu when I moved over there. Yeah, it was a lot of dishes that we had played around with. That was fun. With Walsh. So basically what we did was we took over a brunch restaurant and did like... fine dining 8-course tasting menu in a brunch restaurant at night. It's fucking dope.
For like 10 people.
10 people in the worst equipment ever. And like one aluminum rusted stock pot. For 10 people a night in like a 50-seat brunch restaurant. And then we thought the idea would be waiting to create the ambiance. We just kept turning the music up. It was so fucking loud.
It was definitely a lot of talking heads.
There was a lot of talking heads. I remember. Yeah. Tell us about Smyth, man. It's definitely one of my favorite restaurants, fine dining restaurants in the country. I've had epic meals there.
Smyth was great, man. Shows is like a brilliant cook.
Yeah.
Like the dishes he comes up with, and like just his mindset with food, and just kind of always not working on something, always trying to like make the dish better. And like it's good, but it's not good enough, in his own way. And whatever that was like, it was still pretty, everything we did, I think, was pretty tasty. But it was always like, something not right. And let's just do like this. But yeah, he was great to work with. Like, great guy, like great chef, great cook. Just kind of his vision with food and
Yeah, I love him. He's interesting. He's such
a great guy.
He's such a good dude. Interesting cook. Yeah.
Funny guy. Fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
And Karen and the kids, like, they're great. Like, going to do. I mean, we were working on dishes at their house up in Chicago. Like, we're gonna do this and this today, and we'd go to the grocery store and buy stuff, and be in his kitchen and working on recipes, and he had all these like little, just kind of these like small things that added up to like the dish. And I just remember looking at like what we're doing, and I was just like, okay, this is gonna be fun. I could tell like that we were gonna have a good time cooking. Yeah. And the layout of the kitchen was great. We had a good team, good opening team. I mean,
why did you leave? Just time to go?
Well, I wasn't like trying to leave. That's, like, I think it had like been maybe around 2 years, and I was just kind of to myself thinking, what's the next move? Do I stay at Smyth? How long do I stay for? Do I do my own thing? Do I do that in Chicago? Do I do it somewhere else? Do I go work with someone else? Like, do I really want to stay in Chicago like 5 more years? I didn't really want to do that. Yeah. I love Chicago. I love going. Like, nothing against Chicago, but it's like, man, like, I already been there for 11 years, and I was like,
dude, the winters are brutal.
Yeah, like, it wasn't that bad to begin, and then you just get used to it, and then it was kind of like, I'm over it.
I'm over it, yeah.
And so it was like, I don't know, sometime I think in the summertime, like June or so, and Mitch calls me, and I hadn't talked to him in a few months, and
Mitch Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he was at
CDC
Cezanne, right? Then or
no, he was a CDC at Manresa at the
yeah.
time.
And you had worked with him at L2O?
No, Avenues and Grace.
Oh, Avenues, that's right. Yeah.
And he calls me, and I was kind of like, all right, I think I have an idea of why he's calling me. I just had this hunch. He was like, hey man, I think I'm gonna leave Manresa next year. You know, would you be interested in the job? And I was like, oh, let me think about it. And I took a couple weeks and called him back, and I'm like, all right, then I started talking to Chef Kinch, and went out there to go meet up with him a couple times, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of made sense, and it felt good, and it was kind of the best of all my options, I guess, that I was looking for, and yeah, once I got there, it was just like, okay.
Right on.
Then I was like, oh, fuck, I live in California. Not that I didn't think I would ever live in California, but it was like, okay, it's official. I'm moving to California.
Yeah, but it wasn't like LA or San Francisco.
Yeah.
It was like,
San Jose.
Fucking Los Gatos like, man?
San Jose. San Jose is cool. There's stuff to do. Not really in San Jose. Los Gatos is its own little sleepy town, which is nice.
And then, is it further south of Santa Cruz then?
Santa Cruz is on the other side of the mountain.
Oh, okay, right.
The hill. They call it the hill. You go over the hill. Over 17. How about I say half of the staff lived in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
The other half lived in San Jose or somewhere. But the area is I don't know. The weather's great always for the most part, minus the fires and whatever. But I don't know. California was nice, and it is nice, and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Produce, man.
Oh,
it's so difficult to be in California for X amount of years, and then be in Chicago in January.
Oh,
or anywhere. You're like, fuck, man. The food just tastes different in California.
The produce is great.
It's amazing. Yeah,
produce is great.
Yeah. When you go to the Santa Monica Farmers Market, it kind of ruins you for life for farmers markets.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
So much stuff.
So, what does the Chef de Cuisine at Manresa do?
What did I do?
Just what is what is a day to... Yeah, tell us a typical day.
I don't know.
How much was Kinch there? A lot?
He was there.
Yeah.
I'd say pretty much all the time if he wasn't out of town, or if he wasn't going to Bywater or going to Mentone. He was pretty much always at Manresa. Yeah. And, when I first started, it took a couple months until I started working on dishes, and then after, say 3 months, I started putting dishes on, and that was kind of, I guess my, change the menu, put dishes on, and then train the staff, and everything else that comes with being a CDC. But I think for the most part, it was my daily goal was to try to change the menu, cook good food and make it interesting and teach people and not be stagnant with the food.
Right.
Because I get bored very easy, and I always would want to change as much as I could. Yeah, maybe there are some dishes that stayed on for 3 weeks or so. Maybe the set kind of changed. Maybe it's the same protein, but it's definitely fun. What can we do? Okay, this fish is in season. This is in season, or produce wise, and
is there a certain format you would have to follow? It's a fine dining restaurant, so it's not a concept. It's not like you're working at a Chinese restaurant. You're not going to put a hot dog on a Chinese... Well, maybe. But, when you go in and you worked at L2O, and you worked at Smyth and Avenues and all these amazing places, and all the cuisine is kind of different, but still under the umbrella of, fine dining. Obviously, some of the places you worked at dealt a lot in liquid nitrogen, and I haven't really seen that molecular side of David Kinch that much.
No, I definitely tried to get away from anything like that. Right. I just wanted to cook. I wanted, what do I feel like cooking today? And, you know, there weren't that many parameters, you know, like for the most part, I think Chef Kinch trusted me to like put out good food, and, you know, I think I did a good job at that. And I think just like teaching, like cooking was like the goal, you know, and from different cooks' perspective of what they're capable of, whether you have to show them how to do something or you just say, I'm looking for this, but you know how I want it done. You know, can you conceptualize that and give it to me and it's going to taste good,
right?
You know, and if it doesn't, then I'm like, well, what did you do? Tell me your process, and then we'll go backwards and be like, okay, well, maybe next time you should have done this, or next time do this. And so they're not just kind of being a robot, you know, all the time, right? Because the day to day, like things are going to change, and you know, sometimes the set is the same, but like maybe there's a green that changes where we have, I don't know, like one of my favorite dishes we were doing is like a fish dish that changed, the sauce that kind of changed up. It was like mussel stock base reduced with like kohlrabi juice and brown butter. And it's kind of like a braised green or a fresh green or a grilled green with the fish. And so it's like, all right, here's escarole, grilled escarole. We'll put it on the dish. Or here's some collard greens. Let's do braised collard greens. Like, who's doing that? You know what I mean? Like, but they're in season when I go to the market. It's like collard greens. I like collard greens. But I think having them understanding like the cooking process, the thought process of what I was looking for was like beneficial.
Yeah.
I think.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. You enjoyed your time there, yeah?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
So, there's a funny story. What happened when you announced the closing? I mean, the reservation just went through the fucking roof, right?
Yeah, it was. Man, I think before we announced the closing, when Chef Kinch was, I think he said he was going to leave the restaurant at the end of the year, and then I think like a month later, or whatever, we said we were closing. I mean, from then it was still like reservation. Yeah, it was, and we didn't really. I mean, we still did the same amount of covers we normally did, which was mid-50s maybe, I think. So it wasn't like we were like doing more because we couldn't do more. Like that was like our capacity. But yeah, reservations like towards like November, December, it seemed like there were like thousands of reservations like Jesus on the Christ. Wait list like per day, you know. And then so people started coming into the bar. And there's 4 seats at the bar, and there's like a little lounge area. And we opened at 5, technically, or 5:15. No, there was a bar. It was a bar menu.
Okay.
For like some of our friends or regulars like that always come. Like occasionally, we would do like an a la carte, like something off the menu if we had time, you know. But yeah, people would just start coming in at like 5:15. And there'd be like 10, 12 deep just trying to like get in and like get bar food. And like the bar menu was like, well, I guess in a sense, doing all the bar covers, we were doing like 70 covers a night, you know, with the bar food. It was kind of, it was fun, but
it was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what have you been doing since the closing then? You moved back to Houston?
I guess I didn't really move back.
Yeah. Where you live in Houston now?
My mail goes to my cousin's house. But now I've left San Jose in February and just kind of been driving around, doing vacation, seeing family, playing as much golf as possible. Yeah. And I did a couple dinners with Kinch in April and May in Dominican Republic and Mexico. Yeah. Which were amazing. Yeah, and then just kind of seeing family and just, I don't know.
Sounds dope.
Taking a vacation for the first time in forever, you know?
All right. How's it feel?
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely worth it. And, you know, I think my plan was to kind of try to like have it go the whole year without like working in a full-time capacity. You know, obviously like last couple of months I've helped some friends out with restaurants, and obviously being here, which, you know, obviously thank you for having me, has been a blast. And, you know, being back in the kitchen and working, and I don't know, I've definitely been enjoying it. And it hasn't been a waking up like, I gotta do this thing.
Yeah.
You know, I wake up and I'm like, all right, let's go to work. Like,
let's go to Iggy's.
Yeah, let's go to Iggy's. Like, you know, I'm in the shits. You know, I got a lot of stuff to do. But it feels good, like, you know, cooking, and so, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, just kind of just taking it easy. And
yeah. So what do you think the next thing? Well, I guess a loaded question. Like, what do you want to do next?
I don't know.
Like long term, I mean, not in like, oh, okay, 2 months from now I'll be doing this, but I mean, eventually you want to have your own place, or?
I think eventually, yeah. I think that's the end goal, obviously. Where that is and when that is, I don't know.
It's a tough decision. It's a hard thing.
Yeah. Like, where do you want to live for the rest of your life? Or, you know, like.
Especially like someone like you, which is like me, like you travel a lot in the last 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of the world. You've seen a lot of places. And for me, it was kind of like, you know, when I moved back to Chicago in 2015 from traveling the world for 2 fucking years.
Yeah.
And then before that, living in Spain for 2 years and traveling Europe for a lot, and moving to California. And then I bounced around a little bit. I lived in Arizona for a hot minute. And then
Arizona?
Yeah. Early on. Yeah.
Where in Arizona?
And Phoenix. I was only there for like 2 months. I was going to do this restaurant with this guy, and it fell through. And then I lived in Orlando, Florida, when I was like 21, 22.
Holy
I worked
shit.
at Walt Disney World on accident.
No, dude.
And I worked the ESPN zone. They promised me I was going to be working at some fine dining restaurant, you know? Mm-hmm. Like they have like the Flying Fish restaurant, or like they have this fine dining restaurant called Victoria and Albert's. They're like, oh, you work at one of these restaurants. And then I was tossing wings at the ESPN zone. I'm like, what the fuck, guys? You know? That was interesting. But, you know, you live all these places and you live all these cities. It sort of kind of ruins you, because you want to take the best things out of each city that you lived in, and hopefully there's a city that exists. So every time I moved to like a new city, I was just, well, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, it doesn't have that. And you see a lot more things that you wish it had, instead of just enjoying what it has to offer.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it took me a long time to like settle into Nashville.
I think Nashville's pretty nice.
It's great.
You know?
Wow. I mean, I think when I first got here in 2016, it had a long way to go. And I think we're getting there. Yeah. I like it here, and I like watching it grow, and I like seeing these new restaurants open. And
I think overall aesthetically, it's nice. Mm-hmm. As a city, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like super green and rolling hills and
humidity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not as bad as Houston, but
it can't be, right? Yeah.
It's anyway. That's a whole nother podcast. So
if you were to let's just say money's no object. You got the city that you want to live in.
I don't know.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do, man? What do you want to do? Tell us.
I don't know. I think I just want to have a spot and just cook food and see what happens. You know,
like 10 seats, 30 seats, 100 seats, super fine dining. Not really fine dining. Pizzas and pancakes.
I don't know, man. I think just cook and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And what level that is at the time, I don't know. But I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't know. I want to do my own thing and do my own ththing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's what
I don't know if that makes any
sense. Yeah, makes total sense. It's just, I just want to just leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if I'll open a spot when I'm ready to open a spot, and if I go do this or that before that happens, like I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, during this whole process of Iggy's, I realized it doesn't fucking matter when you're ready. You're ready when you're ready, man.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's at 28, and some people it's at 58.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
which Thomas always said, oh, I was a really kind of like late bloomer. I didn't open the French Laundry till, well in his 40s or whatever,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And it's like one of the greatest restaurants on the planet.
100%. So it's, it just kind of like really made me think like it doesn't, when you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I've been enjoying this like non-work vacation golf lifestyle.
You should keep doing that as long as you fucking can.
How do we get sponsors on here to like?
We get sponsors. Maybe we'll get Ping.
I should have brought my golf.
We should have brought your golf club. We talk about golf, a golf podcast now.
Isn't that how it works? Like you just talk about stuff, and then they give you, then they give you stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love Ping and Titleist. Is that a golf thing?
TaylorMade.
All of them. If you're listening, because I'm sure that we have a huge golf audience that listens to a podcast about idiot chefs telling their stories. So great. I bet the phone's gonna ring off the hook now, Preston. You better be ready.
Thanks, Preston.
We better be ready, man. Maybe we should get an intern to answer all the emails we're gonna be getting. It's amazing.
We should talk about the shelves.
We should talk about the amazing. At
least for a couple minutes.
We had a pivotal moment at Iggy's restaurant. So Nick has come for
fast forward a couple of them. We'll rewind.
All right, we'll go back. Like Nick has come for 3 weeks to help me out at Iggy's because I need some help. We're understaffed, and it's great to have an extra chef kicking around with eyes and ears. So I think it was 2 weeks ago we installed shelves.
Yeah. Shelves
in the restaurant above the cold section, and we have shelves for the pots and pans. We can actually hang the utensils now.
Amazing.
And I think the night that they were installed, the night I went home, was the first time I slept in, 30 years probably. Like I had no idea I was harboring this negative energy around of not being organized in a restaurant that hasn't even opened yet. But the shelves are pretty sweet.
They were a major breakthrough, I think.
It was a major breakthrough. Yeah. And the thing is everybody noticed it after I pointed it out to them.
You just kind of you just generically kind of said it once.
Just in passing. I said it at least 7 times to each person in passing. You should check out the shelves. Yeah. And we had a pre-shift meeting about it too. So thanks for bringing that up. It was great to have shelves installed.
It was a good day.
It was a great day.
It's a good day.
So Nick's been with us for about 3 weeks, just hanging out, and
it's been a blast.
It's been a blast having him here. Amazing, cooking some amazing pastas. And you're leaving on Thursday. You sure you don't want to stay?
Yeah, I know. I know. I got a little family party in Houston.
Oh, dope.
This weekend coming up. Yeah.
You could fly out and then come back. I'll leave the TV in your room this time. You won't be punished anymore. That's great.
Oh fuck.
Right on, man. Well,
thanks
for chatting with us. That's it, man. That's all we got.
That's it.
Yeah, unless you want to talk about something else.
Whatever.
Right on.
Word, man. Thanks, brother.
Oh, it's great having you. Great.
Thank you, Preston.
Thanks, Preston.